Well, I just want to push back a bit, respectfully, but that's what we do here at Fox, on Kenn Starr and Andy McCarthy, but particularly Kenn Starr on his characterization of this process and what we heard today. When he was speaking just a couple of moments ago, he said that the presentation of the case against the president is narrow. Prosecutors look at the world through dirty windows. It's slanted. And you know, it just seems to me, and Ken, I see you there on the screen, so I'll be talking directly to you. You know, when you compare this to the Clinton impeachment, which was basically about whether or not the president had lied under oath about sex, I'm not talking about whether or not this story is true or not, but the allegation that President Trump conditioned support for a key foreign policy ally on political benefit to him strikes me as not narrow, but far broader than the Clinton impeachment and the effort that was made by you and Republicans then to impeach him. And in addition, you said earlier today that, well, there's no prospect that this is ever going to go anywhere in the Senate, as if that should somehow affect the way the House proceeds. Well, there was certainly never any prospect that Bill Clinton was going to be removed. And in fact, you talked about the political buy-in. Bill Clinton in 1998, right in the height of the whole impeachment thing, scored a victory. Democrats actually picked up seats, which is very unusual for the party of the president in the midterm election. But the House and you, to some degree, participated in impeaching him. Not saying there was anything wrong with that, but I'm simply saying it seems that there's a very different standard in how the Clinton impeachment went and how this impeachment is being judged. This seems to me about a much bigger issue. Whether or not you believe the president did it is a different issue, but it seems to me it's about an issue of foreign policy, national security, the security of our elections. It's a much bigger issue than whether or not Bill Clinton lied about sex.
Here's my response. One, there is no bipartisan support of this impeachment inquiry, so that's a very important background fact. In the Clinton matter, when the referral came to Congress, what Congress had to do was to say, is it serious enough to perhaps remove a president of the United States when he has committed federal crimes? What we have not seen here is the suggestion that, or at least we have not seen proof, that a crime has been committed. And that seems to me to be a very relevant fact. When some president has committed actual federal felonies, then that puts, it seems to me, the impeachment inquiry in a very different context. Now, what we have heard today is this, again, I believe, a very one-sided, which is what Mr. Goldman was charged with doing, slanted view of the evidence. Let's look, though, at the broader context. And there's no question, even though Ambassador Sondland is not a good witness for the president, there's no question. There is no question that this president hated the idea of foreign aid to corrupt entities. There's no question. So there's a mixed motive here. And so my question is this something that is in fact going to persuade reasonable people in the middle who just say, what are the facts, that there is, and this is, I think, their bottom line, the Democrats' bottom line. The president is a clear and present danger to the national security of the United States, and I view that as an extravagant claim.
This is Fox News' Chris Wallace calling out Kenn Starr, the independent counsel who led the investigation surrounding Bill Clinton's impeachment, for the glaring false equivalency between the Clinton impeachment and the Trump impeachment. Kenn Starr claims that there's no bipartisan support for this impeachment, but first of all, there is nothing in the Constitution that says that impeachment needs to be bipartisan. In fact, impeachment is inherently a partisan process. It was partisan when Clinton was impeached. It was partisan when Nixon's articles of impeachment were being drafted. To claim that this process is somehow not valid because it's not bipartisan is just completely baseless. And second of all, acknowledging that it's not bipartisan isn't a knock on Democrats, it's a knock on Republicans. Admitting your entire caucus is too collectively spineless to hold Trump accountable for blatant criminal behavior doesn't absolve him, it just makes the caucus seem completely impotent. And by the way, there was a Republican, Justin Amash, who supported impeachment, who was effectively excommunicated from the party and forced to re-register as an independent after the haranguing he received from his colleagues. So let's just be honest here, the Republican Party isn't united behind Trump because he's innocent, they're united behind him because they're too scared to speak up for what's right and risk being on the receiving end of a mean tweet. Glad to see they're taking their oath of office seriously. But that claim pales in comparison to the utter ridiculousness that was his next claim, that the difference between Clinton's impeachment and Trump's impeachment was that there was proof that Clinton committed a crime, whereas we just can't manage to find any shred of evidence of Trump's crimes. Nope. Not withholding congressionally allocated military assistance as a bribe until he could exact political concessions from the leader of a foreign country, not trying to hide the summary of the call that would have incriminated him in a secure server despite it containing no sensitive national security information, not blocking administration officials from testifying in response to legally binding subpoenas. Nope, no crimes here. These are all, in the words of Trump himself, very legal and very cool. Starr then tries to run cover for Trump by claiming that this is all born out of the idea that Trump doesn't like foreign aid. But here's the thing, just because you don't like foreign aid doesn't mean you get to use it as an extortion tool. That's not how this works. First of all, it was allocated by Congress, so Trump doesn't have the right to withhold it in the first place. But even then, it's still not licensed to commit a crime with it. And in case there's any doubt, leveraging it for the promise of an announcement of a probe into your top political opponent, which is unequivocally a thing of value from a foreign entity, is a crime. Finally, Starr tries to present the concept that the president is a clear and present danger to the national security of the United States as doubtful. But his actions absolutely constitute a national security threat. They invite other countries to interfere in our elections so long as Trump can exact some personal benefit. They tell our allies that our alliances don't mean anything beyond money and political favors. They put our Constitution and laws in jeopardy in that there's little reason to follow them if they're not going to be enforced across the board. They show that Trump is willing to strengthen Russia's hands and weaken ours and NATO's if it means he could stay in power longer. And it sends a message loud and clear to the rest of the world that the United States will not fight for democracy and, in fact, defer to authoritarians and dictators. Trump is not only a clear and present danger to the national security of the United States, he is the greatest national security threat that this nation has ever encountered. The fact is, if this isn't impeachable, what is? Are we really pretending that lying about oral sex is more impeachable than using $391 million in taxpayer-funded military assistance for a country at war? At war, mind you, with the same country that just attacked us? As a bribe for dirt on a political opponent? The same people who had nothing but righteous indignation when Bill Clinton told a lie suddenly have quite a bit of leeway now that their president has decided to run a taxpayer-funded international extortion racket. All that this process has shown us is that the GOP has no moral fiber or long-standing convictions. They just want to be in power. That's it. They will lie and cheat and steal and distort and obfuscate to get their way, even if it means trashing the Constitution that they've always been so quick to hide behind.